Today I have two brand new lenses from Viltrox. One is a wide conversion lens and the other is a tele conversion lens. Both are for your Fujifilm X100 camera. Before we get started, I do want to say that Viltrox did send me these lenses for free, but no money has changed hands and I'm in no way obligated to give them a positive review. So as always, I'll do my absolute best to give you guys my honest opinions. Alright, here they are, the WCL-X100VI and the TCL-X100VI. The WCL, which stands for wide conversion lens, is a 28mm full frame equivalent focal length, and the TCL, or tele conversion lens, is a 50mm full frame equivalent focal length. Now, conversion lenses for the X100 line of cameras is nothing new. Fujifilm has been making their own version for years now, but they're pretty pricey. They're about $400 each. Now, these Viltrox lenses are coming in much cheaper. Actually, they're more than half the cost of the Fujifilm lenses. So at the time of making this video, I'm being told that the WCL will sell for $159 US and the TCL will sell for $189 US. Now, I think that's an amazing price, but let's see if they're any good. First off, I want to show you the field of view difference between these three focal lengths. These images were taken with the camera locked off on a tripod, so the only thing changing were the lenses. Notice how much versatility you can get by using just 3 different focal lengths. And pay attention to how much more detail you get by using an actual 50mm lens versus just cropping in post. The next 2 images were shot at Dodger Stadium. The first was shot with the built-in lens, no conversion lens. The second image was shot with the tele lens. Now, if I zoom in and frame the images up similarly, notice how much sharper the 50mm image is. That's, again, the benefit of using an optical zoom as opposed to just cropping in post. And the next 2 images are just examples of how much more or less of the environment you can get depending on whether you're using the wide or the tele lens. I'm happy to report that these lenses don't change the bokeh quality of the X100VI. As you can see in these 3 images, there's a little bit of onion ringing, there's a slight amount of soap bubble effect, there's a little bit of cat's eyeing around the edges of the frame, but those characteristics are present in all 3 images. So these don't make the bokeh any better, but they also don't make it any worse. So I think that's a good thing. And here's a more real-world example of what the bokeh looks like. So in the next image, I initially thought that I had a problem with the tele lens. If you look at the background, the out of focus areas, you'll notice like this weird like ghosting, or like it looks like kind of like motion blur. But after analyzing the image, I know for sure it's not motion blur because 1, the subjects weren't moving. I was using a shutter speed of 1/2000 and the in focus subjects are crystal clear, they're tack sharp. So I was wondering what was going on, and after a ton of investigation, I came to the conclusion that it's not the lens. But if you want to hear more about all that, then make sure you stay to the end of the video. So the X100VI doesn't really have the best lens when it comes to battling fringing or Bokeh or longitudinal chromatic aberrations. And I'm happy to report that the Viltrox lenses don't exacerbate this problem. It doesn't make it any worse. So in these 3 images, you'll see that they all have very similar amounts of Bokeh. I'm not one to typically care too much if a lens has a little bit of vignetting. 1, because I tend to add vignetting to almost all my photos, and 2, if I don't want vignetting, it's very easy to remove in post. I know a lot of you out there do care, so I did test this, and these 2 lenses do add a tiny amount of vignetting to the built-in lens. So check out these 3 images and you'll see the slight amount of vignetting that it adds. All right, so before I give you guys my final thoughts, let's talk about some of the issues that I've been having with these lenses. Now, the first issue that I've had, and it seems like a small thing, but it's pretty annoying, and it's these friction fit lens caps. It seems like a good idea on paper because it's really easy to get them on and off, but Viltrox made these too loose. They are super easy to make fall off, and often what that means is that when you reach into your camera bag to pull one of these lenses out, it has no caps on it, and you're gonna get your fingerprints and oils all over the glass. And also it just won't be protected in your camera bag. So it seems like an easy fix. Viltrox, I hope you can update these caps and make them a little tighter so they stay on. One thing that's nice is that the TCL does come with a traditional lens cap, so that one's not going to go anywhere. That one's good. But the friction fit ones, I hope those get updated because they're not great. The second issue I had, which I already talked about, were some of the out of focus areas. Now, I took a long time. It was really hard to try to reproduce this problem because it turns out that it only shows up in very, very specific circumstances. And I found that it tends to show up more when there's high contrast between your out of focus area and the background. So I was able to reproduce it by shooting this roof that was in my neighborhood somewhere. And what I did was I reproduced it with the 50mm lens, and then I right away took it off and I just shot with the built-in lens. I tried to get it as close as I could, and I noticed that that weird ghosting thing was also present without any conversion lens on, which leads me to believe that it's actually just a problem with the X100's built-in lens, and it's just not noticeable at, lower focal lengths. I think it shows up more on this one because it's just magnifying the background more and it's more visible. So it's not technically a problem with this lens, but I did want to call it out in case any of you out there noticed the same thing that I did. The third issue I noticed, and it's not that big of a deal, but it's that these two lenses, they both reduce the amount of light hitting the sensor by about 1/3 of a stop. It's not a big deal, but obviously it would be nice if we didn't lose any light by using a conversion lens. My fourth and final issue is for all you flash users out there. So if you're the type of person who likes to use your built-in flash on your X100, you will have shadowing issues with either of these lenses. Both lenses have shadowing problems, and it's not very subtle. It is very noticeable, so it is a problem. But the good news is that the solution is really easy. The solution is to use an external flash like this. This is a Godox T30 Pro. I did a whole review on this, and I'll make sure to link it up here and down in the description below if you want to check it out. But basically all this is doing is just getting the flash up high enough that it doesn't cast a shadow from either of these lenses. And I already tested it. Check out these 3 images right now. I'll put it on the screen right now, and you'll see that it's awesome. Zero shadowing, super easy fix. So overall, I am very happy with these lenses. Now, one of the best things about the X100 line of cameras is how portable they are and how unassuming they look. These lenses, because they screw on, once you attach them, it just looks like part of the camera, which makes it really easy to get into all kinds of venues like sporting events or concerts where they typically have a no interchangeable lens camera policy. As you saw earlier in the video, the images from Dodger Stadium were so much better because I had a little bit of extra optical reach, and I can just imagine now how awesome the images of a crowd will be with that wide lens on in the middle of a concert. It'd be so good. The image quality and the build quality of these lenses is top notch. It has an all metal construction. The finish is really good and it matches really well with my X100VI. It has some really nice grippy knurling around the body of the lens here. The glass is flawless, And both lenses also do have filter threads on them for attaching your favorite filters. They only need to fix the lens caps, then I'll be 100% happy. Regardless of the lens caps, I think that these two lenses are a total bargain. At $189 and $159, I don't think you can go wrong with either of these, or both. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. If this is your first time here, my name is Matt, and I make videos about photography, video, I do gear reviews, all that good stuff. So if you liked what you saw and you don't want to miss out on any future content, please consider liking and subscribing because it helps me out a lot. Again, my name is Matt, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.